Well, I have to say I am actually pleasantly surprised with this vehicle. Now and again I get a car and it does turn out to be a lot better than anticipated. Now with this car it's no exception. The first good point I will pick up on is the fact that if you notice, the instrument cluster is set in the middle of the dashboard. Now this doesn't look odd by any means, but when you consider in most cars, and I do get in a lot of cars, the instrument cluster is obstructed by the top of the steering wheel, it makes perfect sense to put it there. Yet so many cars, from Range Rovers to Mercedes to Aston Martins, are all obstructed by the top of the steering wheel. Okay, you can move the steering wheel, but you move the steering wheel, you lose your optimum driving position. Right, this is a 5-speed manual. I'm going to do a 0 to 60 test. Air conditioning off, I think is fair. 3, 2, 1, go. Now that's another thing I like about this vehicle. It's quite nippy. It's quite responsive. But I will immediately go to a bad spot, and that is if you give the steering a bit of a shake, the car boats and rolls around so dramatically. It makes me realise that I really do not want to be doing an emergency swerve in this vehicle at speed, because it's going to be all over the place. So the steering is not very compliant. It is a bit airy, a bit woolly, and there definitely needs some attention there. But this vehicle's done 50,000 miles, so we might be dealing with worn bushes or worn anti-roll bar links, something along those lines. But it adds for a comfortable ride, but it makes the handling very precarious. It's not something you want to be chucking around, put it that way. Now back to basics. The side mirrors are enormous, which is a good thing. It offers adequate, if not more than adequate, vision. It's always a good thing in a vehicle, no matter what car it is. Big wing mirrors. The rear view vision is partially obstructed by the headrests, but it's not an issue because the windscreen is actually so large. Center console is very bland, but one credit I will give it for is it's very easy to operate. There's no confusing buttons there at all. It's one of the simplest, if not the simplest dashboard I've come across in a car in ages. 5-speed manual, as said, gear stick, good location. Driving position is pretty okay. It is a little bit upright for my liking. I do feel like I'm on a bench seat, but it is quite a high up car. The interior is pretty much like a van. It's designed for getting in and out with muddy, wet clothes and stuff like that, so it's quite robust in that respect. There are more buttons on the steering wheel, which compensates for what's going on here. It actually cruises along at 60 miles an hour in top gear fine. This car doesn't have a build quality feel to it, which is good. It does have that Japanese plasticky feel to it, which is a bit of a bummer. But to be fair, this car has more good than bad. There's no doubt about it. Now let's have a little test on the brakes. Brakes are very powerful. You can apply them at a gradient. You can feel all calipers working in perfect synchronization. There's no grabby brakes. You know, it's very difficult to fault this vehicle. It's got a lot of room. It's got a lot of headroom. And I mean, you could really chuck some people in this car and a whole pile of luggage in the back, and more than likely tow something at the same time as well. It's responsive. It drives extremely well. This is a front-wheel drive vehicle, which I think is a bad point, because it is a bit light on the front. But I have to say, going through this car now, I am definitely finding more positives than negatives. What I would suggest to somebody who is watching this video is that they're more likely thinking about buying one. I don't think this is really the sort of car that's going to have a fan club as such. What you want to look out for, I think, with this vehicle is the worn steering and the bushes underneath, because this wobbling, it's too dramatic. There's no way a car would be designed like this in modern times. Give it a bit of a wiggle test, you'll soon know. At the end of the day, if it is worn, it's an easy fix. It's not an expensive fix, so I wouldn't lose any sleep over it. But I would say it looks to me like the steering is where you're going to have issues in high mileage versions of these cars. You know, I'm thinking hard now to find a negative in this car, and I'm struggling. That's a good thing from a review point. This is a very good car. Being Japanese and being a Nissan, it's probably going to be very reliable too. In the year 2012, the top 10 most reliable cars, every single one of them was Japanese. Honda, Nissan, Toyota. They're there for a reason. If you're thinking about buying one of these, do some test drives, take a few for a drive, try and find one with good steering, and I think you're going to get yourself a good car, because these are good cars.